This is our Deinosuchus so far, with the jaw articulation finally complete, so that it can actually open and close. And as we can see with the mouth open, looks pretty nice. This under part took me a little while to do, building it up with hot glue, but besides that, pretty simple. Jaw articulation actually works really nicely as well. So now to continue on to the next part of it. First half of the torso, we have our jaw articulation of course, but we also have a nice up and down articulation, which is a little bit hard to show with just one hand, but yeah, this is the first part of the torso. The second half will be here. Then we gotta do the tail, and then of course the arms and legs, and well, the armor and stuff, the osteoderms actually. But yeah, see you guys in the next part. Here's our oversized Deinosuchus. All that's left is to add on all the osteoderms. I've actually did the feet, and I might add a webbing between them, but besides that, I have to do the osteoderms, and then I can move on to the painting stage. But yeah, that's it so far. Our pretty much final results of our Deinosuchus. We just gotta paint it up, and personally, I think all of the osteoderms and scoots came out really nice. And there are a lot of them, to say the very least. But I will see you guys once we actually get this guy painted up. Here are our final results. And, well, yeah, this is the finished Deinosuchus. And, as you can see, I gave it a pretty interesting color scheme, which, I actually based off the Dino Day and Deinosuchus. I don't really know why, just I thought the colors would look nice, and I think it came out pretty nicely. I did change up a few things, for example, making the brown more of a brown instead of a reddish brown. And, that's really the biggest change I changed up, besides also changing the colorations on the head quite a bit, because there's more gray of it, a little bit more gray on the head. But I made my head basically completely blue. But anyways, let's take a closer look at this. So first, we have a very nice head. Let me readjust my camera real fast. Anyways, it does have a very nice head, which I think came out pretty nicely. And then as we go down the head, we can actually see I gave it a lot of detail by giving it kind of osteoderms going down the whole body. I did give it a little bit more spike-like ones on the neck, but it's more rounded the further down the body you go, and there are quite a lot of these. Then we get into the more scoot-like scales that kind of make the tail a little bit more paddle-like. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the good detail I added in. Here's the teeth came out pretty nice, along with the jaw articulation. Here's it from the top. And as you can see on the underbelly, I actually did kind of a more creamy, whitish gray. Then I went with a pretty mediocre brown for the body, with a nice teal blue on top, and color shift green for the eyes. And I also gave it a kind of that light gray color from the stomach for the stripe going across the face. And I did white as the teeth, and a grayish, whitish, pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth. And then there's also a much darker gray on the side of the body. But, yeah, let me show off the articulation. So, it has up and down articulation, though the head, it used to really stay up, it just doesn't anymore. The jaw articulation, it used to stay closed, but again, it doesn't stay closed anymore. It stays closed a little bit better after I put on the paint, because it made the jaw stay closed a little bit better, but that's about it. There was torso articulation up here, well, when I was making it, but I did have to get rid of it, because I made the body way too long, so I had to really just take it apart from there, and it was just a whole mess. But, once we get down to the tail, there is a ton of articulation, the whole tail being able to articulate. And yeah, the feet came out pretty nice. I usually don't like doing the legs and feet, but this guy, it wasn't that bad because I didn't try to do any articulation. And also, these ones were pretty simple. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for this figure. Now, let's move on to the size comparison, which is going to be a bit hard because at my current filming location, it's actually a little bit bigger than it. So this figure measures in at about a little bit over 2 feet, but I'd say about 27 inches. And at height all the way, at the highest point, which I'd say is about here, about 4 3/4. Now let's compare it to some things. First, let's compare it to the beast of the Mesozoic Torosaurus, which gets kind of dwarfed by it, but also kind of fits in pretty nicely in my opinion. Next, let's compare to a creature that actually lived with Deinosuchus, which would be Spikelops. Which, yeah, Spikelops, it could easily be held in the jaws of this thing. Next, let's compare it to a pretty interesting figure. Well, a pretty reasonable one, and oh man, just dropped the Metriacanthosaurus off the shelf, unfortunately, but here's it next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex, which if I put it in a little bit of a better frame, it's very similar in length to. And since Metriacanthosaurus fell off the shelf, I might as well compare it to the Hammond Collection Metriacanthosaurus. And again, that figure gets completely dwarfed by this massive Deinosuchus. Now for the next thing, but anyways, let me compare it to the Jurassic World Sarcosuchus. Absolutely dwarfed by it. Same for the, well, Gryphosuchus. Absolutely dwarfed. Next, let's compare it to, here's it compared to the Dacosaurus, Caprosuchus, and Prestosuchus. And, yeah, they all get dwarfed. And let's also compare it to a figure that is actually really close in size to, which is the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, which the Mosasaurus' head is bigger, but the Deinosuchus is just slightly shorter. Yeah, pretty much it. Though the beef of the tail was straight instead of up in that position, the Mosasaurus will be quite a bit longer. Now, let's compare it to, now here is it next to my Himalayasaurus that I made, which is actually like the same length as, now that I'm looking at it. Oh, I accidentally hit the tripod there. And last, let's compare it to Titanoboa, which it is, Titanoboa is a bit longer than it, probably by about 4 or 5 inches. But, yeah, honestly, I may or may not do a stop motion with these two. Don't know, you'll just have to see. If you guys would like to see that, like this video. Next, let's compare this to. Now we're on to our second to last comparison, which is the Jurassic World Velociraptor and human figure, which pair up pretty nicely with it, but still get absolutely dwarfed. To be fair, if they added a Deinosuchus into the Jurassic franchise, I would imagine it being about this big, if not bigger. And for the last comparison, which is kind of a weird one in my opinion, if you've ever seen a Dinosaur Story 2, there is a Deinosuchus in that, and I have the same figure, so here's it compared to it. And I'm gonna put it on top actually. It is similar length, though to be fair, mine is missing the end of the tail, as you can see, so it probably would come out to about here, maybe another inch or two, so I think it still would be much shorter. But yeah. This is just an alligator figure though. But now we have a Deinosuchus as well. But anyways, for my final thoughts on this, I think it came out pretty nice. I do like the color scheme. I was really skeptical of doing this color scheme on it, because I really wanted to put a nice color scheme on my first, well, crocodilian figure I'm making. And I think it came out pretty nice, and I actually do not hate it. The teeth came out. The only big issue I really have with it is, well, I mean, it could have some more articulation, but that's not really a big complaint because I gave it mainly the articulation points that I really wanted for this figure. But my biggest issue I have with this is, well, the lack of teeth. Deinosuchus has much more teeth than this, and I was not able to give it that amount of teeth with the technique I used to make the teeth. So, yeah, that kind of sucks, though, to be fair. That does happen with quite a few of my other figures that I've made. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.